What's up, guys? Frank Macalusa from Garageaholic here. As you can see, I'm in my Jeep Comanche today, and it's been over 40 days since my last video release. There's a lot of reasons for that. First reason was, I guess you could probably say, a little bit of burnout. I was really tired, and it's a lot of work to not only produce the movies, but to do the work and then talk about it, release them, promote them. It was just so much, and I just needed a break. But that doesn't mean I haven't done work. As you can see, I'm driving in my MJ Comanche. I put a little bit of time into it over the last few months, but it is now my parts hauler, and it is hauling parts. What we're really doing today is going to paint. We're going to be dropping off all the parts in the car. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've done up until this point. I've done a lot of work on the M3. As you can tell, I'm bringing parts to paint. Today is the first day we're going to be bringing, and this is going to start paint for this entire project. And LJC is our paint guy. He's local to me in Binghamton, New York area. And he has committed to finishing the paint job in 5 weeks, which means we'll be getting it back in early December. What have I done up until then? I tore down the entire S14. The entire engine has been completely disassembled. And what I found was that we spun a bearing on cylinder 3. Rod bearing was spun, so there was some deposits that were left on the crank, and we needed to send that out, actually. I wanted to see if it can get polished out or if it needed to be ground. We ended up sending it to Memphis Motorwerks, and I worked with Mike. Mike is so knowledgeable, and he's so in touch with the enthusiast community. I felt very, very confident working with him. So I shipped out not only the crank, but also the entire head, the pistons, and the rods, just to make sure that everything was good to go. And he took a look at it, he polished the crank, he took a look at the head and pressure tested it. It is good to go. We also took all the parts from the engine and zinc coated them. Sent them out to overnight plating in Rochester, New York, and I have thousands of pieces of hardware that are and engine parts and components that are getting plated, both black, clear chromate, which is like a chrome, if you will, and then of course most of the parts are going to be the yellow zinc chromate that we're going to end up having done. So a lot of work on the S14 stuff, so don't worry, we'll end up reassembling all of that in detail with you guys throughout detailed videos. We also rebuilt the diff. The existing differential on this was a 346, which is exactly the ratio we want for this M3 S14 with the dogleg transmission, close ratio transmission. And the 346 works perfectly. It was originally a torsion differential, but we've actually swapped it out with racing diffs, 6 clutch disc setup. So we did a lot of work there on getting that completely rebuilt with new seals. We cleaned up the whole thing, 415'd it, polished up all of those parts that needed to be fixed and cleaned, and the differential looks absolutely brand new, and it looks so good with that the ZM differential cover, the extra large finned cover. I decided that it was probably best to paint the inside of this M3 before we get it off the paint. That was really the best way to go about it. So I got some 181 Diamond Schwartz black, which is what we're painting the car, same color, and painted the inside. And fixed any of the dents that were in there and any rust. We cut all that out and replaced all that stuff too. So the car and the chassis itself is basically ready for paint, which is pretty cool. We are rebuilding the throttle bodies too, completely rebuilding them. I've completely disassembled the throttle bodies. We're going to be cleaning up all the aluminum throttles and sent out a lot of those parts for zinc as well. So you can see now we are going to have a really nice looking throttle body assembly, which is really what the S14 is known for. And I think that that's really important to have a really nice looking throttle body assembly, especially when it's like the center point of an M3. So I wanted to make sure that that was done right. All right, so I've never done this before, but I'm gonna give it a try because I have no other choice. I bought myself a car dolly that I'm gonna be towing back to the shop with my X5. And I brought it back, it was fine. I'm just thinking that all I gotta do is just bring the car back, set it up, and then use the straps to tie down the rear tires. And now that the E30 has been dropped off, we are good to go. We're starting to work on everything else. Now, don't worry, I'm gonna be covering paint very frequently throughout the next 5 weeks because it's gonna take about 5 weeks for this thing to be completely done and put back in here where we start working on reassembly. But you're going to learn a lot about LJC. That's the guy who's painting this car and what he does, what other work he's done. So we're going to end up going back a few times and just checking up on status and seeing how the blast is going and how the primer coat is going and how the base and clear is going and all the pieces that he's doing. He's going to allow us to get a sneak peek on all of that throughout the build. So I'll be sharing that through incremental videos in the next 5 weeks. In the meantime, part of those videos will also be status on everything else that I'm doing here at the shop. And that includes rebuilding this S14 engine. As you can see here, we have a completely bare block. We're replacing all the bearings. We're replacing the connecting rods and the pistons with Carrillo quality 2.5 liter, 11:1 compression ratio, 95 millimeter bore for the 2.5 liter S14 engine. We got a lot of cool stuff here. We ended up working with this company called Memphis Motorwerks. They're located in Memphis, Nashville area. And they took on this crank. When we had spun that bearing on cylinder number 3, they did a really, really good job of polishing that crank. And get out. Am I still rolling? Great, great. So Memphis Motorwerks, namely the individual I was working with, his name is Mike, and he is incredibly knowledgeable, and he likes to stay under the radar, and I completely respect that. But he's going to be shipping us back all of these parts, the head, the crank, and I'm going to have an extra set of rods to use as I please. But in the meantime, we're going with VAC rods and pistons, and we're going to be rebuilding this S14 to a completely perfect standalone setup over the next month. In the meantime, you can see we've got a lot of dirty parts here, and we're going to be blasting and cleaning and painting and coating all of these components to make it brand new. This S14 is going to look show quality. We have here we have a brand new CSF all aluminum radiator specific to E30 M3 and a CSF oil cooler. These are really rare and very expensive, so we're trying to take very good care of these parts before we reassemble this whole thing. So having said that, guys, my name is Frank Macaluso, and thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for standing by me on this build and everything that I'm doing here. We're going to be looking for a completion of this M3 in the April timeframe, so I'm really excited about that. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. My name is Frank Macaluso, and I am out of here. Later.